Hello, my name is Gianna. I am a health fitness specialist from Pennsylvania, and I'm going to be doing some core with you today. But before we get started, let's warm up. So we're going to start on our backs. Our feet are bent. We're going to push through both of our whole feet, squeezing our belly nice and tight, engaging those glutes as tight as we can, driving those hips to the ceiling. Now, when we do this, we want to try and keep a nice neutral spine. So we're going to really lift those hips. We're going to squeeze that belly as tight as we can. Squeeze those glutes and lift those hips. Each time, just a little bit higher. Push through evenly on both of those feet. Really squeeze that belly nice and tight. We're going to go for 10 here. And once you finish, we're going to move on to our single leg glute bridge. So from here, you're going to lift your left leg up. We're going to have it bent at a 90-degree angle. We want to pull our toes to our shins. So we're trying to get our laces to our shins. We're going to push through our whole right foot, squeezing our right glute, keeping that belly nice and tight. We're going to go here 6 each side. We're inhaling through our nose as we lower down and exhaling through our mouth as we drive those hips to the ceiling. After you've done 6 on your right, we'll switch and we'll do 6 on our left. We're pulling our laces to our shins, squeezing that left butt cheek, belly nice and tight, lifting those hips as high to the ceiling as we can as we keep that nice neutral spine. Everything is engaged, lifting those hips, 6 each side. When you finish, we're going to move on to our dead bug. So we're going to pull both legs up in the air, pull both toes to our shins, driving that low back into the ground. We're going to extend opposite arm, opposite leg. Now, as you're extending, it's going to be really important that you're driving that low back into the ground. You want to try and keep that connection between your low back and the floor. If you struggle with that, you can keep your knees bent and you can stick right here, tapping that heel to the ground. It'll make it a little bit easier to keep that low back flat. Exhaling out as we extend, inhaling as we come back to center. Good. We're going to flip over now into what's called a tabletop position. So our shoulder is going to be right over top of our wrist, and our hip is right over top of our knee. We want our backs nice and flat to start. Okay, so imagine you're balancing a glass of water on your back. All right. From here, I want you to turn your hips and point your butt to the ceiling. Okay, and then we're going to tuck our hips under one vertebrae at a time, tucking those hips as best we can, doing our best not to move that upper back, moving nice and slow at your own pace, back and forth between pointing your butt up to the ceiling as high as you can and tucking those hips one vertebrae at a time. Keep moving through. Do your best to try and keep your upper back still, just dissociating the hips from the rest of the body. Maybe you're just waking up. This is a great way to start your day. It's also a great way to take a break from being at your desk or your workspace all day. We tend to hold tension in our necks and our low back, and this is a great one. A great warm up for our low back, just to kind of release a little bit of that tension. So do a couple more at your own pace. One more. And then we're going to move to bird dog. So again, I want you to be in a tabletop position, balancing that glass of water right on that low back. As we extend, it's our goal to keep that glass of water nice and still. So we're going to extend opposite arm, opposite leg, doing our best. Trying not to move those hips back and forth as we extend opposite arm, opposite leg. Taking your time through this warm-up, prepping that body, prepping those abs to get started for our core. All right, good. We're going to stay in this tabletop position, but now what I want you to do is tuck those toes under and lift your knees up off the ground, okay? Just slightly, about a half an inch to an inch, but you still want to balance that glass of water on your low back. So we're right here, our shoulder is still right over top of our wrist. Our hip is right over top of our knee. Our toes are curled under, and we're lifting our knees up off the ground. Now, what we're going to do from here is drop down onto your right, drop down onto your left, okay? We're going to push up onto your left, push up onto your right, and repeat. Let's do 10 each side for 20 total, keeping those hips as still as we can, really making sure that belly is as engaged as possible. Okay, so we're in that bear position. We're going 10 each side. So you're going up on your right 10 times, down on your right 10 times. So the right is leading 10 times. And then we're going to lead with our left. We're going to go up on our left 10 times, up on our right. Down on our left, down on our right. Staying in that bear position for as long as possible. I want you to do 10 each side. That's going to be 20 total. So really squeeze that belly nice and tight. Even though you're in that bear position, those glutes are still engaged. And when you drop down onto your forearms, your low back isn't moving. So that low back stays flat. All that's moving is that you're dropping down onto your forearms. From here, you're pushing up and then lowering down. You're controlling that movement. Breathe out as you push up. Breathe in as you drop down. Right? We want to breathe out on the hardest part. So exhale through your mouth. Breathing in through your nose as you push up. We're going to do 10 each side. So finish it up. 20 total. Doing your best to keep that low back flat. Okay? When you finish, we're going to flip over. So you should be around done or done. If you need to, go ahead and pause this video. Okay? We're right here. Hands are over our head. Our back is pushed into the ground. We're going to lift one leg up at a time, bringing our left and right fingertips together as we sit up onto our butt bone. I want you to use your belly to pull yourself up, right? Not your momentum from dropping onto the ground. So we're going to do 10 each side. Again, that's 20 total. So we're on our backs, reaching up, touching one hand at a time, or both hands together. One leg comes up at a time. Pulling yourself up, one vertebrae at a time off the ground. Using that belly to pull, right? So your belly is what's pulling you up into the air. Don't just bounce off the ground and hop back up. We want to control the movement. Take your time, move slow through the movement. Really use that core to lift yourself up onto that butt bone. So we're going for 10 each side. That's 20 total. The slower you go, the harder it is on your core. So if you need to make this a little bit more challenging, lift yourself up nice and slow, lower yourself down nice and slow, using that belly to lift and lower, right? One vertebrae at a time, I drop back onto the ground, touch my hands together. 20 total, 10 at a time, or 10 each side. Squeezing, breathing out as we lift ourselves up, breathing in as we lower down. Good. Once you finish your 20 total, we're going to drop into a side plank. So for your side plank position, there's a few ways to do it. I prefer to keep my top leg in front of my bottom leg. Okay, my shoulder is directly over top of my elbow. I'm going to lift myself up, okay, squeezing my belly, squeezing that top butt cheek. I'm gonna bring my top hand underneath my body as I rotate my hips down. I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna drop my hip to the floor and drive my hip to the ceiling. I'm going to repeat this 10 times each side, again for 20 total. Everything is tight. Our belly is tight. Our top and bottom glute are engaged. We're pushing through both of those feet. And if you need a modification, you go ahead and you bend that bottom knee. Lifting those hips high. Again, you're gonna rotate that hand under, come back up, drop that hip to the ground, squeeze that top glute, drive that hip to the ceiling. Do whatever variation works for you, as long as you're challenging your body. Okay, so we're right here. Let's do 10 each side. Drop down, lift up, right? That's our modification. Both legs straight. We're under, rotate up, drop down. 10 each side. Doing whatever variation works for you, whatever challenges your body, okay? And then that modification again right here, bottom knee bent, lift those hips, rotate, drop down, drive up, rotate under, drop down, drive up, squeezing that belly, using those obliques to lift yourself up off the ground. After you finish 10 on that side, we're gonna flip over, we're gonna do the other side. Same thing, shoulder right over top of your elbow, top leg in front of your bottom leg. We're gonna drive that top hip to the ceiling. Under, rotate, drop that hip down, drive that hip up. Under, rotate, drop, drive, 10 each side. Remembering that modification, bottom leg bent, lifting those hips, whatever variation works for you. Turning those hips down as much as we can so that they're parallel to the floor if possible. If not, don't worry. 10 each side, squeezing that belly and squeezing those glutes. Once you finish your first round, you can go ahead and go through again 2 to 3 more times, okay? We're gonna stick with that 10 reps, 20 each side, and I want you to do your best and challenge your body to the best of your ability. Really feel those abs burn and working on that core for our summer body that everybody wants. Have a great day.